Today's one of biggest problem is femicide. We will hear definition and solution from Europe Parliament and see some statistics from Turkey and South America. Let's start with definition.
Feminicide is the murder of a woman for being a woman.
Es la forma más extrema de violencia contra ellas.
A degrading, inhuman, cruel and brutal act.
A crime committed in public or in private, in wartime or peacetime.
Stereotypes about the role of women fuel discrimination and violence.
Refuerzan la idea que las mujeres son propiedad de los hombres.
En muchos países, el feminicidio es aceptado, justificado y tolerado.
La impunidad envía un mensaje de tolerancia y complicidad.
In 2014, we men killed 281 women. 1 in 5 women we killed was either seeking a divorce or was breaking up from her partner. We weren't going to let that happen. Who were these male killers? 46% of women's murderers were their husbands. 10% were partners. We men used firearms in 59% of all cases and sharp tools in 30%. In addition, we killed other women by beating them, strangling them or pushing them off high places. Many of the women saw their murders coming but couldn't raise their voices. In 2014, 9 out of every 100 women we killed were sure they would be killed. They asked for protection from the state, but the authorities either ignored their pleas or issued a protection order and failed to do so.
In Guatemala, 2 women are murdered on average each day. In India, 8,093 cases of dowry related to that were reported in 2007. An unknown number of murders of women or young girls were falsely labeled suicides or accidents. In Australia, Canada, Israel, South Africa and the United States, between 40 and 70% of female murder victims were killed by their intimate parents. In the states of Chihuahua, Mexico, 66% of murders of women were committed by husbands, boyfriends or other family members. Worldwide, up to 50% of sexual assaults are committed against girls under 16. An estimated 150 million girls under the age 18 suffered some form of sexual violence in 2002 alone. The first sexual experience of some 30% of women was forced. The percentage is even higher among those who were under 15 at the time of their sexual initiation, with up to 45% reporting that experience was forced. Women and girls are 80% of estimated 800,000 people trafficked across the national border annually, with the majority, 79%, trafficked for sexual exploitation within countries. Many more women are trafficked often for purpose of sexual exploitation or domestic servitude. One study in Europe found that 60% of trafficked women had experienced physical or sexual violence before trafficked, pointing to gender-based violence as a push factor in the trafficking of women. Between 40 and 50% of women in European Union countries experience unwanted sexual advances, physical contact, or form of sexual harassment at work. Across Asia, studies in Japan, Malaysia, the Philippines, and South Korea show that 30 to 40% women suffered at workplace sexual harassment. In Nairobi, 20% of women have been sexually harassed at work or school. In the United States, 83% girls aged 12 to 16 experience some form of sexual harassment in the public schools.
Ya es hora de pasar a la acción.
The ratification of the Istanbul Convention is imperative.
Formular políticas públicas para erradicar el feminicidio debe ser un trabajo conjunto entre los gobiernos y la sociedad civil.
From a gender and human rights perspective, states must ensure access to effective justice, reparation for victims, and the ending of impunity.
It is necessary to have official statistical data comprehensive, accessible and prepared with women's organizations.
Los medios de comunicación deben responsabilizarse sobre su forma de informar.
En situación de conflicto armado, los gobiernos deben definir políticas que protejan a las mujeres.
We can achieve significant cultural changes through education and training to eliminate discriminatory practices.
La violencia contra las mujeres es un asunto que nos concierne a todas y a todos.
Each passing day means more women dead.
Rompamos el silencio, acabemos con la impunidad y exijamos responsabilidades.